Hey, what's up you guys, it's Connor, and today we're going to be continuing my 2020 reading wrap-up with books 21 through 25. During social distancing, it seems that I have finally gotten my groove and have started to increase my reading speed again. I also just finished my last class of my law school career yesterday, so now I just have to study for finals and I have a little bit of free time to film videos. Nook is also here, but he likes sitting right behind me, so he is here. Nook is on the mend, so we're good on that front. The 21st thing that I read in 2020 is Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. This is the first book in the Last Hour series, which follows the children of the characters that are in the Infernal Devices trilogy. People say that you can pick this book up and you can just read this series without having read the Infernal Devices, but I definitely don't agree. I think that you will not understand what is going on if you have not read that other series. Anyway, it mainly follows Lucy and James Herondale, their little friend group, and then it also follows Lucy's future peripety, which in the Shadowhunter world is basically where they're linked and they can find each other and stuff like that. Cordelia is also called Daisy. Anyway, at the beginning of the book, there's been a serious lack of demons, and so the Shadowhunters have started to live more fluffy lives, really. They haven't had to do a whole lot of fighting recently since the ending of the Infernal Devices, but now demons are starting to come back and more powerful demons are starting to show up and attack people in broad daylight, and it is up to the main characters and their friends to figure out what is going on and save the world and hopefully prevent anyone else from dying. Cassandra Clare has written a lot of books in this world. I have not read them all. I read the Mortal Instruments, the Infernal Devices, but I haven't read any of the other things. Like, I never read the Bane collection, I don't know what it's called, the Bane Chronicles, and I haven't read the Dark Artifices, and I haven't read there's a Shadowhunter, like, schooling setting situation. Haven't read any of those. This was also the House Salt pick for March, so I will leave a link down in the description as well as up in the card symbol to the live show if you want to check that out. In that live show, we talk about this book in full details and talk about all of our feelings about how we thought that there was an insanely high number of characters to follow. I also found that a lot of the characters have multiple names. Everyone has a nickname for everyone else, and so it just is a lot to keep track of everyone. I think Sam ended up making a family tree so that she could keep all the characters straight and how they were related to each other, because everyone is a cousin to someone else. Another thing that I found was that I put this book down a lot and I didn't have a whole lot of motivation to pick it back up. I think that it's slow plot-wise, but I think that what draws most people to this book is that this is chock full of angsty drama. All the characters like each other and it's just a huge mess of characters having crushes on other characters and then not having crushes and breaking up and, you know, tensions and just angst. So if you're going into this really wanting that drama and all of that, I think you're gonna really enjoy this. But for me, just reading it, I thought it was pretty predictable plot-wise because they were like, this character's evil. And so you knew who the bad characters were and you kind of know what's gonna happen just regardless. So I ended up giving this book 3-ish stars. I enjoyed it. I might continue, but we'll see. If you've read this one, let me know. My battery's dying, so I'll have to go change that real quick. The next book that I picked up was Fin Fancy Necromancy by Randy Henderson. This is an urban fantasy series, which I think is just a trilogy. I have all 3 books. I got sent them by Tor, but it took me years before I actually picked them up. This one follows a character named Phineas/Finn. At the beginning of the book, you find out that his 25-year exile is coming to an end. When he was 15, he was framed for sexually assaulting someone or attempting to murder someone, and then he was cast out and he had to go to this other realm and basically be just a blob of consciousness. And during that 25-year period, the others, it's called the Other Realm, the others, which are the beings that live in the Other Realm, tormented him and fed off of his dreams and memories. Now that he's back, he's found out that someone still is trying to frame him and get him sent back to the Other Realm. So now he is on a mission to try to figure out what is going on, who is trying to frame him, how he can prevent himself from getting sent back to the Other Realm and to clear his name. He also teams up with another guy who was exiled. He was an ex-cop, or whatever they're called in this world, an enforcer. And him and Zeke are trying to figure out what the heck's going on. I ended up enjoying this one. I gave it 3.5 stars. I think that the writing is quite good. I think that if you are a lot more familiar with 70s and 80s pop culture references, then you're gonna enjoy this maybe a little bit more than me, because I could only pick up on so many of them. I was not alive in the 70s or the 80s. I don't know a lot of those references. But for the ones that I did get, and just some of the interactions between Finn and his siblings, he has 3 siblings. One of them is a lesbian, one of them might be on the spectrum, and then the other one is just kind of a cranky older brother. I forgot to mention that his type of magic, there are different like schools of magic. The one that his family is known for is death magic. They basically will extract the magic from dead magical people and store it so that it can be used for whatever. His special power is that he is able to talk to the dead. He can call them back from wherever they've gone and ask them questions. I think that that power was really cool, because if he uses it, he has to sacrifice his own life. So every time he talks to someone that's dead, he is gonna die sooner because of that. So I was really enjoying the setup of this world, the different groups of magical people, the tensions between magic users that are human-based versus magic users that are other-based. I wouldn't say that this is the most unpredictable thing ever, because there are characters that are like, you don't know about my past, I'm bad. And he's like, no, you're not. I'm like, Finn. They're literally telling you they're bad. They're bad. But Finn as a character is just pretty oblivious, so I guess I can't expect him to really pick up on those cues. But overall, I enjoyed it. It's a fun urban fantasy, and I probably will continue and pick up the next books at some point soon. Again, I gave this about 3.5 stars. After that, I picked up and listened to the audiobook for Haben, the deafblind woman who conquered Harvard Law. This is a nonfiction memoir written by Haben Girma. I was actually recommended this book by one of my law school professors. My professor was saying that this book really tackles a lot of ableism and discrimination against people with disabilities, specifically because Haben is deaf and blind. Those two things. I will say, going into this, I expected this to be a lot more about Haben going to law school and her process of being in law school and then finishing law school and practicing as an attorney, but it's not really about that. It is mostly about her just growing up. There's a lot of time where it's talking about her as a young child and wanting to do things for herself and testing her boundaries and figuring out how to do things that other people just use their sight and hearing to do. She talks a lot about her family in Eritrea. She's Eritrean American. She talks a lot about her family in Eritrea and the cultural influences that that has in her life. And she also talks about going to another country. I forgot the name of the country, but she goes over a summer or something like that and helps build buildings. And she talks about the experiences that she had growing up that started her on a path to advocating for people with disabilities. So once I realized that it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going in, I just changed my expectations and it was fine. I adjusted because I really was interested mostly in her law school experience, because I'm in law school, and it literally talks about her conquering Harvard Law, but it really doesn't talk about her at law school all that much. It did talk about it a little bit, but I was expecting that to be a bigger portion. But it was really cool learning about Haben's childhood and learning about her family and learning about her siblings. Her brother is also deafblind. And I really liked learning about Haben's deaf blindness, her process, how she was a lot more sighted and a lot more hearing before, and over time those things have slowly got worse and worse, so she sees a lot less now than she could when she was a kid. She also can hear a lot less now than she could when she was a kid. So she's had to adjust and adapt over time as her sight and hearing have gotten less and less. I think it was really cool hearing about her stories and hearing about how she got started in finding out more about the ADA, which is eventually what gave her the motivation to go to law school and start advocating. That was all really cool. I also really like that the audiobook is narrated by Haben. I will warn people that her voice is very high-pitched, so it's a little shocking at first. She hears higher-pitched voices a little easier than lower pitched voices. So if you're going into the audiobook, know that she has a very high pitched voice and just get over it. Because once you start hearing about her story from her, it just makes it so much better, and I was really invested in hearing her tell her own story. But yeah, I overall had a really good time while reading this. I think that this is a book that a lot of people should read. It definitely has a strong message of acceptance and accommodation. It is not hard to accommodate for people that have disabilities. And if you make everything more accessible, you're only going to benefit from people being able to access whatever you're dealing with. If you make your websites a lot more accessible, you're gonna have more people come to your website and be able to use it and interact with it. If you make your stores or your schools or whatever more accessible to people with disabilities, then you're gonna have that many more people that are able to attend or go or, you know, improve upon things. People with disabilities have a different frame of reference and are able to offer different ideas. It's an all-around good thing to be accepting and make accommodations, and it's really not that hard. The only things with this was that I wish that it talked a little bit more about Harvard Law, because that was what it was pitched as, and two, I wanted to know more about her family. I know this is like more Hobbin central because it's her story, but I was really curious because her family is such a big portion of the beginning of the book that you don't really hear about them as much towards the end. But, you know, she's a real human, and so you can probably just ask her at some point if you ever meet her. I ended up giving this one 4 stars, definitely recommend. I then picked up Mockingbird by Chuck Wendig. This is the second book in the Miriam Black trilogy, which I think got expanded, so I think it's 5 books now. This one follows a character named Miriam Black. At the beginning of the first book, you find out that she has the ability, curse, to know exactly when and how someone's gonna die the first time she touches them. In the first book, she touches someone and she realizes that she's gonna be present for his death, and she doesn't want to be. So it's all about her trying to figure out how to stop this from happening. She's never been able to stop someone from dying once she's seen them die. She has to figure out if it's possible and if she even wants to even do it. Because Miriam Black is not the greatest human in the world. For a while now, she's been making her living by taking advantage of bad people. She finds out when the bad people are gonna die, and then she robs their bodies, and that's how she has continued to feed herself and travel. In this book, it continues her story. She is trying to learn more about what the heck is going on. I don't really want to talk about the plot all that much because Chuck Wendig writes a lot of unpredictable stories, I would say. I've read the Heartland trilogy by him, I think that's what it's called, and I really enjoyed that one, so I wanted to continue and read more of his stuff. If I were to tell you about what this book is about, it would probably spoil some things that happened in the first book, so I'm not going to do that. I really enjoyed the first book. I really enjoyed this one as well. I think I liked this one maybe a little bit less, but I really enjoy how straight up Miriam is. She tells it like it is, or at least tells it how she thinks that it is. She is admittedly not a wholesome person, but I think that she has like a good core, and I really enjoy following her and seeing her just shock everyone around her. She definitely does not hold back on giving her opinion. I think that this one also sets up for the rest of the series quite well, because the first book could almost be a standalone, and this one sets up what she's going to be tackling. I thought that the ending was a little bit convenient, / happened a little too quickly, but I overall really enjoyed this. I will definitely be picking up the 3rd book. I think Chuck Wendig could become a favorite of mine. I just always tend to really like his books and find them very engaging. Once I pick up one of his books, I need to keep reading to find out what's gonna happen next until I finish the book, and this one was basically like that. I gave this one 4 stars as well. And the 25th book that I read in 2020 is Gregor the Overlander by Suzanne Collins. I did an individual book review for this, so I will leave that up at the card symbol if you want to check it out. This is the first book in a middle grade series that follows Gregor, who is living with his mother and his 2 sisters. At the beginning of the book, his youngest sister, who's 2 years old, and he fall through a grate and fall into the Underland. Once he's there, he has to deal with giant rats, giant spiders, giant cockroaches, giant bats, and he has to go on a quest to try to save humans, basically. And through that quest, he will be able to figure out how to get back home. I really enjoyed this as well. I loved Gregor. I loved his little sister Boots. Boots is the best. He does such a good job of taking care of Boots, and Boots does such a good job of making everyone feel seen, really. She's one of the only people that can distinguish between different cockroaches, and I found myself caring about these cockroaches, which is such a weird thing. I think that the setting was really well done. I think that the book is very well paced, and I just had a fantastic time while reading this. If you want to know more of my individual thoughts, I don't spoil anything, check out that review because I loved this. I originally gave it 4 stars, but then while I was giving the review, I realized how much I was gushing about it and how I didn't really have any big cons, so I think that this is a 5-star book for me. I definitely recommend this one. So those are the next 5 books that I read in 2020. I almost say 2019 every single time. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and comment down below what you've been up to recently. Have you read any of these books? Are you interested in reading them now? Anything else you want me to know, leave it down below and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye. You want to say bye? No? He's good.